Oh, hey! Welcome to the DnD Basement. Last time we talked about map making world maps, and we actually started with a basic outline, and it was coming actually well, and I'm sure you actually wanted to see the next part. So there we go, we'll do the next part. And while we wait before we start, while Photoshop opens, want a cookie? I sure do. So, let's pick up where we ended last time. So, we were ready to actually paint on the actual map, create some forests, mountains, and the likes. Before we start, I have a whole chapters about brushes, and you should actually have a set of brushes before you even start, because that's the what you're gonna use for the whole of the rest of the map. So we'll pretty much do all our brushes and then go for some rivers. That's what we're gonna do. A good place to start would be Deviant Art. It's a website with people drawing things and doing things for Photoshop and the likes. And they have quite a nice set of brushes for every type of maps. And that's pretty much what I was using. Let me show you some of it. Here we are here on deviantart.com, typed map or Photoshop brushes, and that's what we get. See, there's already a lot of it. Here you got some sketchy cartography brushes, here some map symbols. There's pretty much everything you may want in something like this. There's a lot to choose from. You'll notice that most of the people actually do things in the old ways with old symbols, old things like that. I actually created my own, and we'll come to that later. So this is DeviantArt, good place to be. You can get easily free stuff over there, people that do things for others and everything like that. They even take requests. So you do whatever you need to. The only thing they ask is that you give credit where it's due, and their work is quite the work. So I totally recommend it. Once we downloaded the Photoshop brushes that we need on DeviantArt, what you can do is go into your program for Photoshop. In my case, it's in Program File, Adobe Photoshop CS5, and in there you have presets. You can go into presets, and that's pretty much everything you can have: patterns, meshes, lights, level, hue and saturation, gradient. Everything you may need will be like that. In our case, what interests us is brushes. So you go into brushes and you just put your brushes over there. So while I do recommend you go on DeviantArt and get brushes that already made, you could save time that way, and that's pretty much what everybody wants. I got a few ones from there, and they're really good. I'm doing my maps for this, city maps and mainly. But there's another option called Do It Yourself, DIY, pretty much the philosophy about the DM's craft. So that's it. So you can do it yourself. It's quite easy actually, because it's a black and white picture that you paint with some gray areas if you want some transparency, and it's quite easy to do. You can do the size you want. It could be 50 by 50, it could be 20 by 20, it could be 34 by 600 if you want. You just do it yourself. Then once that is done, you simply save it, and that way it's there. You can reuse it every time you need. Let me show you what I do when I create one. Alright, we have some brushes that's actually inside Photoshop, like this one here. It's a dune grass, and this one here, it's grass all the way. Let me show you what it does, and you'll see. So see, If I just do my stuff and do like this can do grass. This comes with Photoshop. Same with the other one. But for now, I'll show you how to create one brush, because that's something we need here. So we'll first create a new page, and for the size we want, it'll be 25 by 25. So there we go, 25 by 25. We then grow it to the size we want. We'll pick our brush and just pick the first one here, making 1 pixel. That should be good. Actually, we'll use the pencil tool. It still has the old brush, so we'll make it 1 pixel. So that's a square. Okay, you have to know that brushes, you only use white and black, because white will be transparent. It will be nothing, it will not be shown, and black is the opaque, is completely the inverse. It will be what we're gonna be showing. So we'll click here to have black and white, the small 2 square here, and now we'll create some grass. So how about this for grass, like this, and say we want to put some in another way, like this. Oh, it's way bigger, and we'll go all the way to the bottom actually, so like this. Yep, that's quite nice, so we'll stick to that. So those two seems like grass. So what we'll do now, we'll save this as a brush. So we'll go edit, define brush preset, as simple as that. It's a 24 by 24, and it's gonna be called grass temp. Why do I call it grass temp? Simply because it's a temporary holder. We actually don't want to use that one as is. What we'll do now is we'll click on brush here. If you do not have that, if you do not have these, you can click on Windows, Brushes, or F5, and it will bring it in and put it there. So here what we do is we have the brush dynamics. Here we can add preset effects already on the brush and then save it as is. So you sit here, you see what it looks like actually if you click the button and hold it. As you can see, it has some variance to it, but it doesn't look like anything like grass. So for what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the scattering dynamics. And with the scattering at 230%, you already see what this does. You can see that this is more like grass. Actually, right now, that actually looks more like grass. So that this should be fine. The 230 is fine as is. We'll look it like that. You can add more. The more you add, the less it looks like. So we'll keep it to 1. So that's it for color dynamics. We don't touch the hue, the saturation, the brightness. While you could, the purity, I don't know what it does. I never used it. Once that is done, this looks like grass as it is. So what we'll do, we'll come over here, and that is create a new brush. What that is gonna do is that it's gonna take the brush we're on now, the one we already created, the temporary one, and then use the brush settings here and mix them all together and keep them all together into one single brush. I was about to say grass. So we'll call it grass homemade. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna save it. That should be it. Now you should see that you have 2 brushes. One of them is our, and the other is the other one. This is the one I didn't make, so I'll just delete it. This is the last one where I screwed up. Now everything should work fine, and it is, as I can see right now in my test. So what we'll do now is that we'll go to the tutorial, to the our tutorial of map making, and usually it should work, and it works. So that's how you actually create a brush. You could I could actually use this and just create grass all around, even in the ocean if I want to. And that's how you create a brush. Now I know I just created grass, so go ahead and create yourself a layer if you want to. For me, I'm not gonna touch it because even though I created it, I think the Photoshop one is just better. So I'm gonna use the Photoshop one when I have the chance. Right now, we're not going to start with the grass. We're going to go into painting this thing. Now we're going to finish painting this. And right now, we're gonna do some river and lakes. So create a new layer, like we already do. Call it river and lake. Click OK. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna use our pencil with a regular brush. And our brush should be about 10 pixels. That should be enough for our thing. It's really small, but that's a world map and that's what we want. So we have this. Make sure you're on your river and lake. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna pick whip the shallow color, so it blends in with that. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna paint some rivers, just like this. You can freehand it, it's fine. You can also create smaller ones if you want, like 3 pixel wide here. Here's one. Here's another one with that branches in multiple parts, like this. And this, going all the way there. This will look like it is a those look like veins actually, and that's pretty much what they are when you think about it. Now we're gonna create a few lakes, so for that we're gonna up the brushes to 20. That should be great. And we're just going to put a lake there. That's not actually so big. And here I'm gonna create a big one, like there's a big hole in that island. So there we go. You can also pick whip the deeper area and make it deeper on in itself, as if it was a giant lake with multiple layers. The only thing that you need is to remember that you need to actually blur it, like I'm doing right now, so it blends in with the rest. So that's it for river and lakes. And that also concludes today's episode with this. So we just concluded the rivers and lakes layer, and we talked about brushes. This is pretty much the biggest part of the thing, the brushes you're gonna use and the way you do it. It's like painting for everyone that actually does it on the DM's Craft and everything. Painting is dependent on each brush, and Photoshop is exactly like that. You got your canvas and you got your brushes, and those brushes is exactly what you need. So that's it for that. Next time on the DnD Basement, we're gonna do our part 3 tutorial, and the part 3 will actually create everything else that's missing, mountains and everything. I'll already have the brushes set up. You already know how to do it or how to download it on DeviantArt, which is a great place. So that's all there is to it. The biggest part is the brushes, and we just did that. So the rest is pretty much just painting up the map, figuring out where to put things and everything. That's about it. So part 3 will be all about shaping up the world to what it is, including naming conventions and things like that. So that's pretty much everything it is. So see ya, and have a nice night.